imitator. I put together this little clip on tree pose, or Vrikshasana, just with the hope that it'll give a little bit more life to your tree pose, and as you practice your yoga practice, you start to get a little bit more awareness around the biomechanics you have available for certain poses, where you can soften into the poses more, and as such, get a whole lot more out of your yoga practice. So tree pose, Vrikshasana pose, is often taught by simply cueing our students, or perhaps you hear this, just to come into the pose, bring the leg up, maybe externally rotate, and more often than not, bring the sole of that leg, the sole of that foot, onto the inner thigh of the upper leg, the standing leg. So while that's all well and good, if you're somebody who doesn't actually have the range of motion in both flexion, as the leg comes up, and external rotation, what will more often than not happen when you bring the sole of the foot here is there's a torque through the pelvis as the body compensates, or maybe a torque through the spine, and then perhaps this kind of kick out of the pelvis when you come into the pose. So I'm going to take you step by step through some things to just be aware of as you move through tree pose. And like I said, if you can stay and explore your optimal range of motion, it'll feed more into every yoga pose you do, and you will get much further and much faster. So starting with your hands on your pelvis, just put them in a position where you can sort of get a good sense of where the bones are sitting. So maybe the front fingers will kind of rest there on the bones of the pelvis, and the back ones are sort of near the sacroiliac joint. You can kind of feel those two little parts that are sticking out, depending on your size, but you will be able to get a sense of where the bones are. And then, just whatever leg you want to start on, go ahead and start to bring the leg up towards you. What you're feeling for here underneath your fingertips is if there's any rocking forward or back, or side to side, feeling if the spine starts to get tight or pull. And if you feel any of those, go a little less. Bring the leg up, not so far. See where it feels nice and easy through your spine, and it's really quiet here underneath the fingers. Because this is about the leg bone. This is about increasing the range of motion and flexion. When you find where that is, that this leg bone can come up towards you, go ahead and start to rotate it in and out. You can almost start to do some circles as though you're drawing a figure eight with the kneecap. What you want to be cautious of is that you're not leading from the knee, that you're actually, more than anything, feeling like movement is happening all the way up here into the hip socket. Now once you find where that range is in external rotation, go ahead and paying attention and feeling. Feel here through the pelvis, feel through your spine. Start to bring the leg back to where it needs to be, that the sole of the foot can come and rest gently on the inner seam of the lower leg, the standing leg. So not on the knee, not on the ankle, in between. Just let it sit there. Take a few moments to just see how little effort you can put into being here. If you always practice bringing the sole of the foot up to the inner thigh, above the knee, something might feel a little different here. Something may even feel like it has to work. And the reason in my experience for that is that often what we do is bring the leg all the way up to the inner seam, higher up the leg, and kind of collapse into it. We sort of sink the foot into the inner thigh, and we sink the thigh into the foot, and we kind of plug ourselves in there. And there's the tendency to kind of miss out on a whole lot of strengthening that can happen, particularly through the inner and outer seam of this leg that's bent. So you can stay right there, and then bring your leg back down, and maybe that's enough. If everything feels good, go ahead and start to butterfly this thigh back to behind you. So in my situation, towards the wall and back, towards the wall and back. Now it might be a really small range of motion. What you want to do is only move where, again, it's very quiet here through the pelvis. It's really easy through your spine. So those two places are not compensating. You're actually looking to explore the mobility and get more mobility and more strength and stamina through this range of motion. Once you find where that is, just let it be there. So there's a little bit of effort to hold it there, but keep soft through your face, your eyes, your breath. If something starts to tighten up, come on out straight away, because then you're getting into compensating patterns. You can go ahead, bring your hands up if everything feels good, and just notice what it is that might feel different. Obviously, never move through pain or strain, or if there's tension that increases, come out straight away and make the range of motion smaller. When you're finished, bring your leg forward, back down onto the floor. Take a few minutes to just notice how you feel in that standing leg now. See where your weight is settling through the 3 points of the foot. And then go ahead with the other one. Bring it on up, explore flexion, explore rotation. Honor those ranges of motion. And take yourself into a little bit of a modified tree pose and see how that works for you. See if that helps you to move further in your practice, in other poses, gives you a little bit more information, and have fun.